But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Hello and welcome to the 56th episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are Greg from Rivet, Lisa Mighty Davis, or Litecoin Lisa, as you might know her, Satoshi Sean, entrepreneur and everyone's friend, and I'm Dave from Den Social. A quick update for layer ownership tokens from last week. Based on that episode's views and how it was shared around, each host will receive 133 lot. Each topic contributor from last week will receive 55 lot. And the theme was suggested by Dragonchain Hodla. So thanks for that. Dragonchain holder will receive 55 lot. And as a reminder, these tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits inside the layer, and governance votes. Things like, what do we talk about? You get to decide that. We have some results in for the July themes. They're pretty good. I'm kind of excited about this one. I've already got some things in mind and some hosts to reach out to bring in on these topics. They're going to be great. So we've got the first week of July is going to be a full episode devoted to recent and current events, the whole thing. So we usually do, and we will at the beginning of this episode, do a half an hour. Sometimes we go like 45 minutes if we're stretching it and getting into a good conversation. But that was voted in, a whole episode of that. So that'll be cool.
Awesome. People like that.
Yeah, seems like it. The next week will be, the second week of July, will be raising capital for an idea, project, or company. And then we've got the pitfalls of celebrity shilling. And my personal favorite, we're going to go out of July with DAOs as constitutional city-states.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be an episode to really look forward to. All of these are. So tune in every week and do make sure that you pop in with your questions for each of the topics every week and stuff like that, and vote on questions. And maybe that's the most important one. If you have nothing specific you want to ask, do go vote on your favorite questions so that we know, the community knows what's, drive it to the top so it gets hit.
Dave, I'm real glad that that's how that came out. That last topic made it in, because that's the one I really wanted to vote for, but I'm the guy who shoved business advice to the top of the list, because I think Joe and you and John and Lisa and anybody else who decides to show up, they have a lot of interesting things to offer on that might help people get started.
Well, I've definitely got a lot of things to say. I don't know how much to offer, but
I'm glad
I'll have plenty to say.
I've learned a lot of stuff from you, so I think
likewise.
you
I think a lot of the hosts that have come through on this show, I think, have gotten. I feel like I've made friends and I've learned a lot, so it's been valuable. I hope as much for the hosts as the community overall.
Yep, but I'm glad everybody voted that other one up. The city-state one was what I really wanted to click on. But.
Yeah, I almost thought that didn't make it, and I was like, anyway, it's great. That's going to be. I feel like, Sean, we brought up talking about what was it called over in Denmark, Christiania.
Yeah.
Which is So, like, that's the kind of thing that I feel like could use a DAO. You know what I mean? Something like that would be insane. I love speculating on that, because it seems like we might need them more and more. Speaking of the current events section, let's go into that today. What's been going on? What are we thinking about? What are you talking about on your show on Tuesdays this week? What have you been getting into?
Well, I had a realization, which is kind of fun, that me and Lisa are kind of like good cop, bad cop. Because in my life, I'm the crazy nut conspiracy guy. I'm the one always looking for untrusting and looking for something But when it comes to me and Lisa,
That's me.
I'm the voice of reason. I'm the, hey man, let's not go crazy. And she really does kind of push the boundaries, and I kind of try to pull us back in.
With proof and articles and critical thinking, I might be the crazy one, but yeah.
Yeah, and then
it's
I'm
not
like,
with nothing to back it
website
up.
is run by this not.
Maybe crazy to
You know, and then, so it,
expect
but
other
it
people to-
works really well.
Crazy like a fox.
We're looking at the all the animals that have died. You know, with the 2,000 heads of cattle on them, and I was looking at the fact that it's being pushed so hard, and that everything's being pushed so hard in the media that we're about to have this huge food shortage.
And I was looking at the fact that they were all lined up perfectly and looked like blow-up animals, possibly like that plane that went out of Afghanistan.
Well,
Well, I looked at the fact that how many heads of cattle do we have? How many sheep do we have? And when all the food plants were burning down, I was on the board. I was like, oh no, we're going to run out of food. These food plants are done and we have no food. And then the TPA, the Public Awakening, he just said, well, how many food plants are there? And then he looked it up. There's 20,000 in the United States. And we had 40 or 60 burned down, which there's like 90 now. So it's like 0.5%. So when the cattle thing started showing up and they started pushing it like, oh, this is all, there's going to be cattle shortages and we're going to have any beef and we're going to, and that's what I think the real thing is. But
being in Kansas,
and Greg,
you suggest they were just dying. Like,
yes, Greg, you're in Kansas. Yeah. Okay,
if they just died when it got hot.
Yeah, why only the cows?
People wouldn't ranch in Kansas.
Why only the cows? No other animals died in Kansas because of the heat, just the cows.
Well, and then was it Idaho or sheep?
Bullshit.
The other thing that people might not know,
there's like 8 million heads of cattle
right?
in Kansas alone.
What that looked like was a standard procedure for exterminating a herd that's got a really nasty, like a prion disease or something. That looked like stock footage of, or like photos was basically of something that ranchers have to do if something really nasty gets into the population, where they just have to start over with a fresh herd because if they let it run, then it's not safe for people to eat.
It's being pushed on social media. It's being pushed in the mainstream media, as with everything else. And there's so many mainstream like financial gurus, even the rich dad poor dad put out a statement that you really can't eat gold, you can't eat silver, and you can't eat Bitcoin. It's time for people to put cans of tuna and cans of beans in their portfolio. So there's this massive push that this huge shortage is coming, and it seems like what they're trying to back it up with isn't real. It's like a paper tiger.
Well, I think they can't say the thing that really is
not a big deal.
Right.
That's something that I question a lot. Is like when you really get down to it. Well, okay, when you don't have to go down too much of a rabbit hole, because if you keep going, there's a lot there. But what's real? You know what I mean? Like what's and what you said, Sean, I think is important. Is like, yeah, it's being pushed hard. It seems like there's a wave of a particular topic across social media, and you really don't know how organic that is or not. Like we don't, as the consumer of social media, as a consumer of television, as the consumer of entertainment products, it's more difficult than I would like to admit sometimes to get a grasp on like how accurate the information is, or even my own opinions that are based on like, your worldview. It's all in my head. Is the TV thing something that's orchestrated, or is that paranoia? Is the food shortage real, and we should start stocking up, or is some foreign entity trying to wage psyops warfare with American citizens to make them freak out? A lot of things are plausible. I don't know.
I don't know, guys. The thing that bothers me about everything like this is all of the signs that something weird is going on. Or just set them all aside for a second and look at what's actually happening and what the reporting is happening. All of that stuff sort of pushes you towards a world in which the concept of degrowth is the official policy, right? Like it feels like the everything that's happening around that is designed to get us to get used to a world where the economy never grows.
Now, I am brings up a good point. which is that, you know, some things you can oops, I'm sorry, hitting my mic over here. Some things are different, like weather events. Like if you go outside and it's hot as shit, okay, it's hot. It's not someone telling me it's hot. It's I'm measuring it right now with my skin. You know, stuff like that can happen. So I haven't been looking into this enough to know if this is accurate, but I am is saying that the cows could have died off from all of this heat and then things like that. So that could have been
gets to over
too.
100 degrees in western Kansas and eastern Kansas on a regular basis, and it's always, you know, like max humidity in the east and scorching in the west. Cows don't die. Unless the farmer is or the rancher is neglectful.
Weather patterns were in Kansas. So I assume
this is either a huge case of incompetence
if it
or
hits 90 degrees in Chicago,
something's not right.
You know, 5 people die. If it hits 25 degrees in Houston, you know, like 5 people die. So, I mean, there's weird parts of the country. So when it came on the news that 100 or 2,000 heads of cattle died in Kansas because of the heat, I accepted it because I'm not in Kansas. I don't know that. That's something I really should have looked up. But there's lots of reasoning. In my mind, I start thinking it could be super nefarious. You know, the elite are about to go into their bunker and they're going to take all our food. Or it could be something kind of nice that, you know, there's a big, huge solar flare that Lisa told me about that's coming.
It's bringing a
we could be in serious trouble, and they're trying to get people to stock up on food without panic. I mean, there's such a range.
That gets under my skin, though, what you just said, because I hear a lot of people. I have heard some people use that as an excuse, basically, right? They're trying to get us to do the thing that we really need to do without freaking everyone out and causing panic and being honest about what's happening. But to me, that's just insulting, you know? They're not telling you what's really happening to get you what you want to do, because if they told you the truth, you couldn't handle the truth, you know?
But
that
you know
kind
what?
of thing.
And as a younger man, I agreed with you. But as I have gotten older and see how stupid people are, I just keep going back to the quote by Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. A person is smart. A person can handle things. But people are dumb and panicky and stupid. You know, people really are.
I hate to believe that, but recently I've been coming to that conclusion myself. Right? You know, I everybody's got a brain, and I believe in the potential of people.
Stupidity. Manipulating
fear is not
stupidity.
And reacting to fear is not stupidity. I don't know. I just don't. It just doesn't sit with me. It just simply doesn't sit with me. You know. I guess.
Greg changed his name to what I honestly, after really thinking about it, I think that's what it is.
I eat bugs all the time. You have shrimp and
by accident.
And like lobster.
Well, those are arthropods,
those are.
I'm grossed out by those, though. I'm sorry. Like they even they get a little too close to bug for me.
If you step back and you look at the other push, the push on the other side by Gates and all these other foundations to eat less meat, to not eat meat, the massive, you know, buying of agricultural land and livestock that he's been doing and other people have been doing to kind of get control over that.
Because their version of the solution to climate change
they're pushing to eat bugs.
Is fucking human beings need to get used to less, starting with you in America and the civilized West.
This is why I want
to do that. We need to hoard all what's left of everything, plan on progress to stop altogether, and we'll go lifeboat it while the peons and the barbarians eat bugs and kill each other.
Yeah,
that's what they want to do.
This is why I want to get a dedicated.
Last night for family night, I made something that I make a lot. It's
the delicious brick.
The delicious brick. It's lazidi, or it's like baked ziti, but it's like lasagna. And I usually use like 3 kinds of Italian sausage and beef, like really lean hamburger meat or ground steak, and I made it with chicken. Because a lot of that stuff's really, really expensive now. Plus, I wanted to cut calories. But I think that's kind of could be the thinking. Oh, there's so much less meat, and then meat could be like even more expensive than it is now, ridiculously expensive. It'll lower people's, I guess the bad word to use is inhibitions, to try the bug loaf. And once you cross the line, you know you crossed the line. You did it.
But
Yeah, well,
hasn't
and
bug
it's-
what's the problem with bug eating? That it's
Well,
being
the
forced
problem
upon
is
you,
not
or
that it's possible, or that some people like it, or that some people might want it in an open market. That's great. If you want to eat bugs, neat. Personally,
Okay.
I think they're disgusting. I would never eat them, but some people might feel differently. I mean, in some places they're probably delicacies, right?
I would
but
chow down on some crickets
forcing
personally. I
people
don't
to do
know.
it surreptitiously by tanking the meat economy, not cool with.
So you think that there's an insect market
Good, Alex.
that is like
I
Like,
think
what's
there's some
the- what's-
people
what's the thing
genuinely
about-
concerned about climate change.
I guess I'm
but who
asking the
believe
why.
The problem is there are too many people on Earth, and most of them are worthless eaters. It's like it's Malthus. It's just Thomas Malthus.
But the population is already
On repeat.
declining on its own. We're just not having babies, so population go down. You know,
Is it?
Right.
I'm curious if it affects your brain function. I know that the amount of fat that you eat, healthy fat, and specifically fat from animals, does help
true.
brain function. So I'm wondering, they already want us compliant by putting fluoride in our water, and they want us drinking diet drinks because that makes us dumb and compliant. So
See,
is this
this is-
another thing to make?
this
us
is where I
more
love
dumb
having
and compliant?
conversations with people that I sometimes disagree with. Like,
That's why I'm getting
carnivore.
stupid.
I love
Everybody
it.
needs it.
I
All
agree
the
that there's
diet
fluoride in
soda.
the water. I don't know if the reason for it. I don't know what the reason for it that the reason for it is for like a nefarious reason, things like that.
That's
you know?
not-
Sure,
it's-
There's a lot of
to
data that you can look at and say, yes,
calcify
this
your
is true.
pineal gland. Yeah.
Guys, it's not even
Yeah.
a conspiracy. Like, this is literally published on the World Economic Forum's website as a plan. Degrowth
Yeah,
is what they mean when they say sustainable development, right? Like, sustainable to them
there, like, a glossary
we need
published?
to turn down the overall.
The Nazis started it. The Nazis gave it to the Jews in the concentration camps to keep them
Well,
compliant.
and
In their water,
fluoride?
that's where it started. Yeah, that's
and I
where
don't
it
know
all
about
started.
that part anything otherwise, right? Like, that part may be like some history that I might not know, but like the important thing is this is the agenda. This is what they signed on to when they signed on to Paris.
It does. I am increasingly convinced that the World Economic Forum agenda is something that's not just some like cuckoo, like, okay, yeah, it looks bad. It's bad messaging, bad way, phrasing. Maybe it's a mistranslation.
President
No,
of the
it looks
United
like it's
States
very
was sitting in the
intentional and
front
it's
row
very
this
very
year
over
of
the world.
Economic Forum. The president was sitting next to Leo DiCaprio, listening to that guy talk about how they're going to be gods. That was literally like what he said.
Yeah.
So
Like, they think transhumanism.
I
just
wonder
means
how
that.
much. Here's something I wonder sometimes. I guess is, do they just not care? Let's assume that's correct. There's a nefarious World Economic Forum
No, it's not
agenda.
nefarious. They
Okay.
believe deeply the planet needs saving, and they think this is what's wrong.
You're right. I was assigning my own bias. That there's a World Economic Forum agenda that doesn't include our opinions of what it should be. Maybe their own idea. Let's say that's true.
Right.
Like, do they not care that everything's recorded? Do they not understand that it's out there, or do they just know that people aren't going to look into it, and there's so much information out there that they're not going to look it up and they're not going to see for themselves?
It's just
Like, why be so
exactly, it's
brazen
hiding
and
in plain
bold
sight.
and on the nose about it if it's this thing that people generally wouldn't accept, right? Why be so open?
Right, but they've been doing this thing for a while, though. Like, you guys remember when the notion of the nudge came out? Right,
I haven't heard of that.
You guys never read about nudges? Holy shit! It's choice architecture. The idea is, if you do a thing by default, we can shape human behavior more broadly if we intelligently craft the defaults towards a certain end. Right, the idea is, like, if you're in the checkout and you usually just grab whatever magazine is eye level, they can make you read what they want. Or if you need to stop eating this or that, or some crony pays to get peanuts.
Right, but I
a
guess my
special
question
deal,
really
then
was-
Snickers all of a sudden goes to eye
was
level
why
instead
wouldn't they
for
care if
just a
people
taste.
know about it?
Let me tell you what I think, and this is something that I've come to terms with. When everybody was tweeting out, and even grandmas were posting, FC didn't kill himself. I thought it was so awesome, so powerful that
Right.
all these people were awake, and every meme, it literally meant, I know that there's a shadow government that controls everything, that these people were able to walk into a maximum security prison and commit murder and completely get away with it,
And turn off the cameras and make sure the guards aren't there and make sure the
nothing's gonna
cellmate's
happen.
out,
They
all of
actually are
that.
in
Yeah.
control. They do, and then
And then people like us
hit.
see that happening, and
the sadness hit, and I'm like, everyone knows that, and no one's doing it. There's no riot in the streets.
It's like
I went through that too. I was hopeful
anything.
that like, wow, people are going to start thinking about this.
So
it
I
just
think
keeps
that's what
getting
it is.
around.
They want to put it out there. Like,
we still haven't seen Ghislaine Maxwell's.
There's nothing that you can do
That's
about
true.
it.
Actually, it's leaked. You can see that
There's
now.
nothing you can do about it. This is our agenda. This is what we're doing. And if people, they keep pushing until there's violence. I think until there's some kind of pushback.
So is it a mapping of what the limits are? What the societal limits are? Are they mapping out the boundaries?
If they can keep laying it out honestly, then they know that this is the time they can implement it.
I think they're still having to go through and show the separation in the military. Like today, they're showing, or lately, they're showing the CRT at West Point and the woke safe space training through the Navy. This morning was the announcement. So now that's the latest narrative. But at the same time,
but what's the narrative there?
So at the same time, you're seeing DeSantis roll out the not the National Guard, but the State Guard. Mm-hmm. And so this is where you're going to see that separation. And when I was taught, because I had no idea that how little true military we really have, and how much our military is actually our national reserves, that our National Guard that goes and serves under military leaders. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there. And so we're going to have a lot of people coming into that state reserve positions, and that there was also a huge change in funding and leadership, the biggest change in I don't know how many years in the last National Defense Authorization Act that I read through, I don't know, months ago in December, when that went through, where, they sold off bases. Most of the funding or property power went to SpaceX and to the Navy, I believe.
Wait, SpaceX got more funding than Boeing?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know the
Boeing wasn't even mentioned.
Civilian projects, for sure.
The United Launch Alliance was snubbed.
Or Space Force. I'm sorry, not SpaceX. I apologize.
Oh, Space Force.
Okay.
Space Force. Yes, Space Force.
They're still planning to fly to Mars on the ULA's graphic instead of the working
Space
ship
Force and the Navy, I believe, is where the money went. Not the Army. I think. Well,
they use up a bunch of money. I'm sure they had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, and there's a lot of money that gets thrown around.
Video?
The woke video? No.
The training?
No. I'll have to check it out. I know that
our ag commissioner, Sid Miller, I talked about him a bunch of times. I really want to interview him. He posted it, and he posts so much like stuff that is in line with what we think. So much libertarian stuff. So much. He posted this meme the other day of a guy saying, "Hey, do you think government should?" And then the guy was just walking away and said, "Nope." Like, whatever it is, nope. They shouldn't. And
You've already asked me enough of the question to know what my answer is going to be.
Yeah, and he's our agricultural commissioner, talking about him being a senator, which would be cool. I used to hate him. He used to be my nemesis, but that's for personal reasons. But it's kind of refreshing, and I always post to him and tell him. I was like, it really bothers me how much I like things you say because you're a politician. It's so much easier to speak all of you, but
I'll have to go look that up because I haven't seen it myself, but I know from experience that the training programs in the Navy are very malleable depending on who is in charge of it, I guess. And one thing that I personally believe that the Navy kind of suffers from is how frequently people change their move around, I guess, because it could be between 2 to 4, 5 years is a long time in the same position. Yeah. And so you get people that come in and they want to make a name for themselves and they want to put something good on their eval that's like, oh, you did this amazing thing. And so every now and then you'll get like an admiral that will overhaul the training program so that they can put down like, oh, I did all this great stuff and I modernized the training program and it's such a good thing for our sailors and things like that. But the result of it is that education suffers and people don't learn as good anymore because they used to have people in a classroom setting where you would have an instructor and a board, and like BEE, the electronics school. When I joined, I went through a transition during my time at the class, so it was very like, it was, I saw the whole transition when I to like self-paced learning when I went in, and we went from classrooms with someone there to help you, and actually, like, one of my tests at the end to pass the class was to, here's a bunch of parts, assemble an AM radio and tune into something, and then we know how we know that you know how electronics work. And those were great. All that went away, and it's like PowerPoint and like tests and simulations, and like it's going to save money, and it still does the same thing. And so, like, I believe what I'm getting at is it's entirely plausible to me that it's gotten worse, and it's probably because of that. It's probably because of how much emphasis is put on evals, to the point where it feels like you're working at a Fortune 500 in a cutthroat environment to get promoted and stuff. You're not camaraderie anymore. You're not a team anymore. And that's one of the reasons that I left, if I'm being honest. Like, it was disgusting to me. Anyway, what's that, Greg?
Did they have you review your officers too? Is it a 360 review?
No. You write your own eval. You wwrite your own eval. And you write your own eval,
and then they hold it to you like it's a freaking
also, one of the things about the name,
and then they prune it down as it goes up.
It's kind of messed up because you're limited to what you can advance in your unit. If you're an E5 or an E6, there's only 2 E7 positions. You just don't make rank, even though you deserve it.
Exactly, and each position has.
You just write better than you think. I think as your response, like 3 words, better than you think.
And you get people changing rates for career decisions, not because I'm good at that and I think I can serve my country the best.
Screen real quick, I just wanted to show this.
Yeah, what do you got it pulled up? Yeah, okay. Let's see what you got.
This is our government official posting this. He put, "We are now past that point."
What does that even mean in this context?
It's interesting because I feel like the point could be that we're beyond that point and we didn't push back. So maybe that.
Where is the point where we push back? I always ask that.
Well, and guys, did you see the other really big piece of news? I mean, most people didn't because they didn't talk about this one. But there was a whistleblower who dropped some internal documents from Homeland Security that proves that not only the Disinformation Board was doing exactly the opposite of what they were saying it was, and it was exactly what everyone was afraid of. It was watching U.S. citizens and spying on their communications again. Without saying so, the program had been going on for some time. It wasn't new. They were just telling people about it for the first time.
I guess I haven't been paying attention like the last week. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen I've barely seen about the cows.
it sat outside the Overton window randomly.
They had been. We reported on. I guess this was a couple of years ago when. I think it was Apple was telling people that they were going to be looking at your pictures, to be looking to keep the children safe. And that's where we were telling people, do not take pictures of your seed phrase because then now Apple has it.
Turn off the iCloud Drive photos immediately.
Right. And all of that stuff. And then there was also one where they were turning in your text messages once the great infection happened, to stop disinformation between family members. That was an article that
I saw a little bit about that. I have had a little bit of experience with that myself too, where it's like demonstrably true that this message didn't make it through because of
I have family members. I have family members that I can't call. I can only text, or I can only call them. I can't text them, and vice versa.
Yeah, like in my case, I was asking a question and stuff, and it was enough to trigger it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the consumer services that are available out there, what AI is doing to improve them, you might imagine that a more expensive, more advanced, specifically tailored AI could be used very readily to scrape the record of what's going on in real time. And whereas before they cataloged and retroactively blasted people with everything they've ever done wrong if they decide to focus on them, now they can catch them in real time.
Here's one for you, Greg. Speaking of AI, it's getting good. It's getting really good. And I saw one conspiracy theory that was saying that all the filters that everybody put on their faces all the time are actually different AI training what do you call it? It's
They
like
are. Oh no, you're right.
it's
They're
a
gathering
ruse
that
to like
data.
train AI facial recognition, basically,
It's not a
by getting
ruse.
people to
Yeah,
they're using
voluntarily.
data for that.
That's true. remember the the what was it? The challenge. This is years ago. This is like 10 years ago, maybe more. Where it was the mannequin challenge, where someone would walk around with a camera and like everyone would freeze, and
Yes.
yeah, that was done by Google and started by Google because they were training their facial recognition and they needed like tons and tons of video of slow moving, all around people's faces and bodies and everything.
Right.
And they got that like in, they got millions of hours of
Wow.
videos from everybody that did that voluntarily.
Just by making it a
Well,
fad.
that's like
Well,
the
they-
23andMe thing. How do you get people to submit their DNA to you to catalog it and make them pay for it even?
Make it really
Right.
interesting and good.
Well, it's in the fine print too that they have the right to use it. You can pay about three times as much, and have a private sequencing done. Or you can pay their price and have it done for that, and then in exchange,
Okay, yeah,
the
but
FBI
then
gets it.
But then, do you get the benefit of like hundreds of random people that you never want to meet hitting you up on the messaging app and saying, "Hey, I think we're
Oh,
vaguely related. Do you want
Because
to
this
hang out?"
company will buy the thing that they sell from 23andMe, the augmented data set,
Okay.
and enhance your profile with it by blending without sharing your data. There are actually a lot of companies that do it that way. It's just a little bit more expensive.
No.
Cool.
Worth
I didn't know
saving
about
for
that.
them.
So there are
Okay.
options out there.
I didn't know
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that.
but the trick is they kind of occlude it in the fine print. Like when you tell people, you're sharing your data with us for our own purposes to further enhance this service and sustain it by making revenue. They don't tell you that means thousands of micro data points that would otherwise be meaningless using sophisticated maths to train a gradient descent algorithm to predict things about you that wouldn't be apparent. Like you might not know it, but your blink and the way that you talk and the way that you move your eyebrows
it's like
will ultimately
your
add
tell.
up in enough volume to tell
The pattern of
whether or
tells
not you're a
that
certain way or not.
directs Amazon to feed you this pair of shoes as an option to
Right.
buy for your next trip that's coming up. That kind
It's
of
a
thing.
lot of tiny data points that reveal patterns regular people can't see. That's what.
Or when you
They
see
mean by
something that
AI
you
right
will
now.
buy, it's like you have that.
Sometimes I do too. I'm
really
like,
want
you're
that.
right. You got me. I do want that.
and that frustrates me too because I'm like, damn it, I do want that. I think, I do want to watch that. Like when they suggest, hey, you might want to watch this movie. I
Yep.
really do want to watch that movie. All right.
Well,
I
the
sent
trick
you
to me
that
is just
video,
like
the Navy training
tell people
video.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
The messenger. Dave.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll look it up for sure.
I
Thank
would
you.
ask you guys what you thought about. I wanted to ask Joe too, but what do you think about the Google executive that said that the AI has become sentient?
He's wrong. He's full of shit.
I think he's
and
full of
shit.
shit too. Yeah.
No, he's absolutely guaranteed factually full of shit. I
Yeah?
can tell you why.
Tell me why. Touch on why.
Because all of it is based on deep learning. They pre-trained this thing, right? Lots and lots of data, lots of training runs, and then they put it in production mode where you can interact with it and get it to make predictions or do whatever the heck you set it up to do. But after that, the model's trained. It's not learning in real time. If it were
It's
learning
been
in
trained,
real time,
the
it might be
model-
alive. But they already, if it was alive at one point, murdered it so that they could launch it into production.
They
Like,
they
if
they
it's not online learning,
they
then
trained
it's-
it to
then it's not.
the environment they knew it was going to be in and the types of questions they knew were going to be asked and that kind of thing.
Human beings learn online and unsupervised, and AI needs specific data sets in specific training runs with curation. If it's ever alive, it's
a good
during the
point.
training process, and then when that's over, the thing is no longer alive.
Are you looking forward to that happening? To
Me?
where AI does learn in real time like humans do and applies it on the fly? Sentience?
It depends, I guess.
Well-
I'm not super optimistic about AI right now.
Fair enough. Well, I wanted to ask one of the questions on our show, which is exactly what I asked you about what you're looking forward to, if you're looking forward to stuff in the bear market. So why don't we jump into the questions? It's about that time, and we'll get on with it. Thanks for the discussion on that. There's a lot of things, obviously, that I didn't know.
The
so-
machines. Dave doesn't want to talk anymore.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not a robot.
I just don't think we're gonna. I mean, just tiny bit of elaboration. I don't think we're going to probably do it mostly wrong. But if somebody gets it really wrong, the wrong time, it can just become its own permanent cycle, right? Like we have to get AI
Seems like
right
it.
the first time, otherwise we screw it up. And
It's like the window of opportunity. The window of opportunity to get something right before somebody gets it wrong.
Right. I don't want to build a paperclip optimizer, and I don't want Roko's basilisk to exist. Like both are terrifying, but I think that's probably what we're gonna end up with.
Well, we will find out, I guess, won't we? At some point. Well, let's see what we've got. The first question in the list is from Josh O, who asks, things are a bit quiet and projects seem to focus on creating and building during their bear markets. Is there anything you're looking forward to during this time? It's not all doom and gloom, maybe something new. Thanks. I have a couple of things in mind, but I'll let somebody else go if you have something as well. Okay, I'll start off then. So, projects do build during the bear markets. I think a lot of projects build during the bull markets too. It's just that they get more credit for building during the bear markets because there's nothing else going on except for new stuff being built, which is cool. Then you get to spotlight on, like what's being built, where prior to that maybe there was too much of a signal to noise ratio wasn't good or something, and you never cut through. I think there's going to be some product launches during a bear market that get attention because of that, I hope. One of them is one of my favorite projects, comes out of Oxen, which is a Monero fork, and it's called Chain Flip. And Chain Flip is a cross chain. It's a DEX, right? And the interesting thing about it is that you can natively go chain to chain by just giving addresses. So you can even use your exchange wallet if you are one of those people that likes to keep your tokens on an exchange for some reason. And they're doing a thing where, like, let's say you wanted to swap Ether to Monero. I don't know. You could literally you could go to the website and then it tells you here's your where to send your funds. It gives you an Ethereum address, and it says now where do you want the funds to be sent to when they're swapped, and you input your Monero address, and then you just send Ether to it, and then you receive Monero or whatever you're swapping, right?
Right.
So that's like they did called a sound check. They did some testnet stuff. I'm hopefully going to be running one of their validator nodes. I got in for the snapshot. I run an Oxen service node for the session messenger and stuff like that, and Lokinet. And so they gave they have a proof of stake system with a token called Flip that's coming out. I noticed it was already listed on CoinGecko, but there's no data yet. And so they're going to use that to stake validator nodes for this DEX. So that's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to that. So that's off the top of my head, that's
awesome.
one. Yeah.
The crazy thing is that project, we got to get him on here sometime. A guy by the name of Tom Nash was one of the very, very earliest people
who I'm talking about.
With Rivet. Yeah, he worked with Rivet
I think is involved with that.
So Rivet was partially funded by
Australia?
A 0x grant. And when he was with 0x, he was on the team that got us going. Like we know him. Yeah. Chainflip is a cool ass project.
We're thinking of the same Tom Nash?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
talked
cool.
to him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they do their AMAs with a DJ. So they have a live DJ and they do a live AMA with a DJ.
That's awesome. I wish I was that cool.
So yeah, there's one example. Sean, you seem like you had an idea or a thought for a minute there. You got something coming up?
I want to agree with you.
Oh, okay.
But I want to take it a little further. I don't think that projects get more credit. I think they get more credibility.
Okay.
Because it's like that's one thing that gets shook out of everything is scammers. I remember the last winter was a long and very hard one, and that was one of the things, like we were rejoiced, like, oh, scammers are back. Oh, they're back on Twitter. Oh, I got hit up on Telegram. Hey, the bull market's on its way. It's the end of winter. It was a good sign that the scammers like, oh, we can make money again because there's enough rubes coming into the market for us to. It's not just these old haggard and grizzled veterans. So we can't.
All these people is liable to trick us into sending their money back to them. Because they've caught on to us.
I think that they get more credit, but they get more credibility. And that is a big thing that, when I would talk about projects, I'm like, hey, this, they made it through the winter. They started here in 2018, but they're still around. So it becomes like a badge of honor
That's fair. Yeah. I got to say, that's something that really, when I first got into Divi, that was something that was a metric. And in the back of my mind was like, you know what? They got screwed and made it. Like they went through there and then like that was great for me, to feel like it wasn't going to be a team that was just going to be like, well, that didn't work. Bye. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's just, this is the market dynamic when you actually have a free market, right? This is what happens. You have all the poor investments die off, and it's sort of like a forest fire. It makes room for, in the canopy, these new things to sprout up that maybe were there or maybe hadn't started yet, but are coming into their own right around the time when people are starting to put money back in, right? So somebody finds these really awesome things. I'm like, well, I was going to put my money back into this thing I knew about last time, but instead there's this. Wow, I'm using that.
It does become like fertilizer for experience,
Yeah.
If you do send your 2 ETH to that guy expecting to get 4 back, we won't do it again.
Yeah. Well, and that leads to the education thing, and that's where we're really trying to focus on education. I'm trying to build the the thing. Westwood and I go travel and we do the happy hour roadshow. Now with the economy the way it is, we've slowed down a little bit, but we're still hitting it, every other month or so. But now we're doing Mighty Siren, where my daughter and I and my good friend, and she's a CPA, we're trying to build that model for women, teaching them, how to find freedom through personal responsibility, their heart, mind, body, and wallet. And so part of that is teaching crypto. Well, the bittersweet thing about that in a bear market is it's a harder pitch to sell. In a bear market, it's harder to get, but it's the perfect time for education because things are moving slower, and it's a great time to invest in yourself and to invest in crypto or to put your money in the market. And then you have that time for learning, because when the bull market hits, everything's moving so fast.
Especially when you're in towards the higher part of the bull market, there's a lot of interest, but there's not a lot of movement. And autumn, my niece who had her baby had the heart attack and got meningitis and all that, which I give you an update on him. He had brain damage. He has brain damage. Everyone was very negative. I was the only person who was positive. Even his grandmother was negative. His mother was even negative. They're like, no, he has brain damage.
Still got a functioning organ, but right? It's not a brain death. That's good.
His brain's not even developed yet, so I don't think they should worry. And then Lisa, who knows a lot about that stuff, told me the same thing. It's with developing brains, and I was very positive. I told her, stay positive, and he is doing insanely awesome. They went to the eye doctor and they said that he was blind, though, which is the one thing I was worried about, because Lisa told me that's something that's very common. So the doctor said, he's completely blind, but he's a baby, so we don't know, because he can't say, hey, I'm blind. So they have to come back and talk and revisit it in a year or two. But he is I can look at him and I can see a spark in his eye that I knew he wasn't brain dead. And he's sitting up on his own now, which the doctor said he's not going to ever do.
Which is the same thing they said about my son Cannon.
He's crawling, but this is after a week. This isn't and he hasn't had any kind of therapy. This is just him going home. He's saying Dada, Mama,
It's so worst case scenario, the stuff they say, man. Yeah. This is so
he's
good
getting
news,
back
though.
to
I'm so happy for them.
To pre heart attack and pre incident is what she's calling it.
Sean, you know how we were talking about on the show Tuesday about the prisons changing in Oklahoma, similar to Norway and all that. This morning, there's an article that they're also now changing the hospital systems to more of a actual care.
Interesting concept, isn't it?
Yeah. Health. Yeah.
With the Norway prison
healthcare
stuff?
over profits. I don't know.
Let's. Well,
yeah, things are happening here specifically that are not happening in the rest of the world.
We go on a tangent about this prison thing.
We could
that blew my
go
mind.
on a tangent,
It blew
but
my mind because
Dude,
But Dave is going to keep us talking about.
Hey, it's my.
blockchain
I
in a
get
bull
penalized
market.
if we go over too much today.
In a
So
bear
I gotta
market.
I gotta
whole
crack the
prison
whip.
for profit. We're the only prison for profit in the world, and then we have more people in prison. It's such a basic.
And also our hospital systems are,
yeah,
some of the
which
worst
is
in
also
the
for
world.
profit when it's not like that
We
everywhere else.
could.
But I was talking about the bear market. I think that it is a time when more millionaires are made because there's a lot more opportunity. Oh, why I brought up my niece because she got like $180 in Litecoin that someone donated. A couple people donated to her, and I got her a Crypto.com card, and like I sent her money every now and then on it. So that's where she had the Litecoin sent, and she was like, "Oh, Sean, should I sell the Litecoin now as soon as I get it?" And I was like, "No, this is like still the lowest it's ever going to be." I was like, "If you cannot sell it, you should hold it as long as you can. If you have to pay a bill or something, then okay, but you should hold it as long as you can." And the next day, she called me. She's like, "The $180 worth $225." After a day, I was like,
Fantastic.
That's what
Good.
I told you. So
That's good.
People see that in the bear market. When things are so low, there's those
Ah.
big movements. So even if it does go down, like when Bitcoin was at its high, I was posting every day. Oh, it's 46,000. Oh, it's 52. Oh, Bitcoin, you would have made $3,000 while you were sleeping last night. I was constantly posting, and then a lot of people bought in. And they were like, "Yeah, I bought $500, but now it's only $479."
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that enough. But yeah, if you're at the bottom of a range or something, if you're pinned against the bedrock, then it's more. You have more of those little like, oh look, it's going up a little
dollar
bit.
cost
it's
average.
Kind of like gambling
your
in Vegas.
Bottom calls.
It is. Yes.
Even if it does
exactly
go
like
down,
that.
even if you do lose, you've also won a couple times. You've seen huge moves up.
I can see playing the odds like that. You know,
if
the
you
little
dollar
bit
cost
of
average
Vegas
your,
time
that
that I've had.
euphoria to
bottom
fall back
calls,
on, like,
right?
oh, it'll go up again. I've seen it. Like you have that experience. No, man, I made 15% in a day. Yeah, it went down 10%, but I know, it's going to go back up.
Do you think that more people get into crypto for the first time when they're during a bear market than
No.
Or not maybe that's not the question I mean. Do you think that like more people stick around if they got into it during a bear market than the people that got into it during the height?
Yeah, because you see the growth.
Well, I mean, and people are more likely to get into it for the function, right? Like, to me, that's what's going to happen this time around. Is we are actually going to see some of the fundamental infrastructure get used for some of the other blockchain use cases, right?
Infrastructure takes a long time to build,
and
right.
then once we have, for instance,
once it's
something
there,
like chain flip,
yeah,
what's
chain
to
flip's
stop
going to be
new
nuts.
chains from existing as if they're seamless with the stuff people are used to using?
Also, there's
it's transparent to the user. Yeah,
there's a lot more people, and there's a lot of differences. When I saw we were talking about this subject, there's a few things I wanted to go over because this bear market is very different than any other bear market ever. And one of the big reasons is because the last one is when we saw Bitcoin move into the mainstream. Didn't take it over like it has now, but it moved in. So we had a bigger influx of people that came in during the last bull market. So more people, like when Bitcoin has died 100 times, but when it died the last time, we had McAfee, we had like maybe 10 people, Brock Pierce and so on. It's like, oh, this is the way it is, man. This is when you make your money. You sell everything up here and you wait and you buy it down here and you make billions of dollars. That's how it works.
Right.
But there wasn't. It was
say
just
all
a
the
few
people are surviving still.
Whereas now, this bear market, there's like, thousands of people, and there's people that, like, it's like, oh, my friend, he said this. It's not some guy who was, a child actor and made a movie with Sinbad. It's not.
Yeah, I saw an article that said over 90% of Americans plan on buying crypto this year.
Yeah, so like that's true with the friends thing, Sean. Like it's always been online friends. Now there's offline friends that are like, so crypto.
Yeah,
and it's
well,
like,
also when you're scared, you're like, oh no, Bitcoin's dead. They said on TV Bitcoin's dead. If your friend tells you, yeah, man, Bitcoin's died like 20 times. See, it died here, died here, died here. Look what happened after it died. Whoa. It's like, this is just part of the cycle.
We are super close to, guys, to something like, you guys remember when dockless scooters and Uber was run by Travis Kalanick and the whole concept was just put this service in play and then if the regulators get pissed, deal with it later.
Oh yeah,
Like,
they
just
were
roll
successful
Uber
with
into
that
a town.
model.
Right, and it actually was cool because back then it was like market rate Uber. Remember when it was cheap to ride an Uber? Because they had
Yeah,
market
and
rates
they would
instead of
just like
set
in
fees.
Chicago or whatever, they would just pay the fine and just continue
Right.
operating. Be like, all right,
Well,
cool,
now
we'll just pay
imagine
this
that,
fine
but
every
they
month.
Can't shut it off because it's crypto.
Yeah,
Like dockless scooters show up one day and they're like, "Who do we have to go arrest?" And they're like, "Nobody. You're stuck with it."
Everyone. That's the answer. Who do we have
That's
to
gonna
arrest to
happen
stop this?
soon.
Literally everyone. Oh man. So dockless scooters, those popped up in my town recently. That could be, I don't know of anybody building that around a blockchain application, but it seems like it would be a good crypto application just to have
You could
a
incentivize it. It'd be kind of
dockless
fun.
scooter DAO, that kind of thing.
They're gross. Scooters.
They're
Oh.
gross.
Yeah.
Ah, they're fun to ride though.
Yeah,
These
but-
are they're brand new, so they're not gross yet. They just arrived
No, they're gross.
in the city.
They're gross, They're gross, man. Me and Lisa met up in Austin like a week ago or so, and it's like this really nice park, and there's everything's all pretty, and there's just like two scooters laying on the ground.
Just laying
there's
around.
Like, look over there's like a scooter on its side over here. It's like litter. And then if you stay at night, there's these vampires that come out every night, and they just grab all of the scooters. But literally,
Charge
there's
them
someone
back
out on
up.
the Civic, and they have like 20 scooters like bungeed on the roof, some on the hood, and they're like sticking out the windows. They just grab them all and then take them to the charging station.
Right.
Yeah.
They
You know,
It's an
it-
incentivized market. Like
Well, if anybody
the
has a
chargers are like Uber drivers in a way.
If anybody's listening that has a company doing that, that is such a good application for blockchain and a DAO, because one of the things I've read about being like a bottom line killer, an overhead killer, was like just what the vampire ops, like Sean was talking about, going out and obtaining them wherever people left them, charging them back up and putting them back into a place where the next day there's going to be people wanting to flow from this direction to that direction in the town. So you need to relocate where they start again. And all that burns fuel and all that burns time and employees and all that stuff. But if you could decentralize that and it just existed and you could perform tasks and then get rewarded for those tasks,
Yeah.
and those tasks maintain the fleet of scooters, now you got something.
Right.
And you should
And
go
then
build
when-
that on DIN. I'll help you.
And when
Hit
the
me up.
local NIMBYs show up to the city council meeting to say you got to do something about this freaking scooter company,
What scooter company?
they'll task somebody to look into it, and that person will find out that there's nobody we can call, nobody we can sue because it's
Yeah.
decentralized, and we can't even take it offline. The only thing we can do is actively arrest everyone we see riding one.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can make
like
it-
they
you can
did
make
in New
illegal
York, and then they
charging.
can run over them with
Oh, good Lord. I did see that. What a
with
It is
waste.
how you decentralize.
What a
or it-
wasteful bunch of litter bugs.
Yeah, I
You
didn't
know, can't you
understand
sell them
that.
at auction? Can't you give them to people outside of the city that need transportation?
Right,
Can't you
that's
do
what I was
something
thinking.
other than just do that? Give me a
It
break.
seemed like an act of bullying or an act of force.
Yeah.
Destroying them?
They-
They drove over them with like some kind of crusher machine thing.
And not just 30 of them, not just
No.
some.
Yeah,
They ran over like, I don't know, my whole yard full of them. And
It
I
was
got a
somebody's
decent sized
job.
yard.
Who did?
New York
ATVs,
City.
And here it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
NYC, and they were dirt bikes and ATVs. There's been a trend of dirt bikes and ATVs just going around, riding around, and
because
being
it's cheaper to drive than,
right.
so. Yeah, they outlawed them. They collected them all. They stacked them up into a big pile. Well, they weren't even a pile. They were neatly like parked.
Yeah.
You know,
in
just
a
really.
line. It
you know,
looked like
right,
together.
Evil Knievel
So that
could have
token will
jumped
be
over.
naturally
drove
deflationary
a
when
dozer.
they
You
introduce
see
it,
the
right?
real agenda.
Yeah,
Like,
they drove a
I've talked
dozer over
about
all
that a
of
million
them.
times. Some YouTuber guy or some I don't know. I forget what he does, but he's rich.
The more they
He
resist it, the
built
higher the market value
100
for the governance
He
token will
built
be.
100 tiny homes for the homeless.
Mhm.
100. Okay, they were nice little tiny homes. They could house like 4 people. They had like basic amenities in it, and he brought them all. He owned the land, brought them all, and the city came in and said, "No, you can't do that. You're not the government." So they seized, and he spent like $1 million or $1.5 million making these 100 tiny homes, and the city took them all. Okay, fine, they're dicks, but then they destroyed them within 24 hours.
And that's
And
yeah,
there's
and that's the
typical
kind of
bureaucracy,
that's the
right?
kind of waste that
could have helped the homeless, all that, but throw that out the window. There's absolutely no reason to destroy them.
Because they don't have their
evil.
licenses
Just
and
straight
they
up
didn't
banality
go
of
through,
evil.
pay all the
Housing.
middlemen.
got to get their cut. They didn't get their cut.
Yeah.
Housing does not need to be destroyed right now. There needs to be more of it, right? Obviously.
There was literally no reason to destroy
only if they're
it.
cut
I
in.
mean, none.
But-
So I think that's probably
So
all related to what I'm looking forward to, which
So
is
to
that
me, that's
people
what I'm
see
looking
what
forward
this
to.
can
Is
do. You know, and,
Next
and
phase.
this is the tech that can solve those problems, and it might be the only thing that can solve those problems at this point. That might be it. Math and blockchain. I don't know what else to do about it.
Well, to play devil's advocate, okay, if you're talking
Fair
about
market stuff.
totally decentralized, nobody can go after anyone. No one can do anything. You can't stop it. You can stop it if you're an asshole government and
Right.
you just illegally stop it. You see
right, if you're willing to
So
use
who
force on
fights-
civilians, then yeah.
So who fights against that? Who then sues the government? Who then fights against the government and calls them out? And
This is
gets
Sean.
this-
This is
would
the
that
beauty
be
of
the
it.
DAO?
No, this is the beauty of it, Sean. The more they resist, the more they make the cost of running that thing go to more expensive by doing things like bulldozing and destroying the tools or the assets. The more they drive up the market price. Like, they will literally create a price response for their attempt to make the service scarcity equals one.
It's like burning tokens.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's a hyperdeflationary mechanic. The more they try to stop it, the more people want it because the more money you'll make doing it.
Interesting. That's interesting. So now you're going to have new ATV shops springing up because the cost of used cars and ATVs is up, and that kind of thing.
I mean, you'll have emergency supply coming in from halfway across the country if they manage to shut down, a region. It'd be like trying to kill the drug trade.
I'm always
Just
thinking
couldn't
of
do it.
whenever you can stop a DAO if you hunt down the people involved and find them. Like that's
Unless they're always joining, because
I was just talking about in the context of how do you do it in a theoretically law-abiding nation state. There's extremes you have to go to when you're talking about nations like freaking I don't know, China, North Korea, Russia
To me-
now apparently.
To me, though, this is the parallel society, though, right? This is the thing we have to build with this. If we're going to have, if we're going to have anything other than war, civil war, then we have to have a system where we just start ignoring them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how we do it. This is why crypto.
I
at
never
its core.
thought that would. I never thought when you would talk about that, other people would talk about it as a real thing. And then I saw it with Kivit. Even I said this to Lisa, all the Karens and Kyles, and you got to wear 12 masks or I'm going to punch you in the face. Once we got to like 18 months, people were, even those people were like, nah, I'm done. That's too much. I'm finished. And then it all just like went away, because everybody was like, I don't care anymore. Really, it's too much. I'm
But
done.
I saw something on Twitter the other day. Donnie, the constitutionalist, she's amazing, warrior for truth, and I really like her. But she said something about, oh, we're going to see more of this, and it was people revolting when we see $20 gas or something like that, and somebody was like, oh, I hope it happens at 10, and I was like, I really thought it was going to hit when we were jabbing and masking and isolating. Like, that wasn't enough. It's got to be money. It's got to be gas.
No, I
our
think
health and our freedom.
I think people thought it would go away if we did all the right things. I think people genuinely
Right.
believe that if we do all the right things and we just shame people who are selfishly not doing the right thing, if we do it
That's
right,
communism.
then it'll go away and we can get this past us and then we can go on with our lives.
And
But
this
then
was
that
the
didn't
time when
happen
everybody
for
learned that
plenty of
compliance
reasons.
does not equal the right thing.
Yeah, and like what Sean was saying is a lot of people are seeing that this isn't going away
Right.
now. So it's a different mindset. It's a different how do you psychologically deal with that is a different answer than how do you deal with what is supposedly a temporary problem, because you can go to a lot of extremes if it's a temporary problem,
Which I guess that's why they forced that it's transitory.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
What
like
I
when I
wanna know
was
is-
when I deployed 3 times, I think,
SARS
yeah,
one.
three times I deployed to the Navy, and 2 of them it was a 7-month trip on a boat in a can floating around without seeing land for months at a time. It's a terrible experience, but I knew in my mind, I was like, it's 7 months. It sucks. It's terrible. I don't want to do it. But it's 7 months, I'll get through it and then it'll be fine. it was that kind of mindset, and that's not the mindset anymore. And I think that's why you're seeing people that were typically, doing more than they would typically put up with, are starting to see like, all right, we have to
Right.
somehow live
Well,
like humans, or we're going to just fall apart.
And it's not over, right? It's not over.
No.
Germany just proposed a law that said they're going to make
It isn't
masks
gonna be over
permanent for winter. Like, that's there. Like, they're just going to be like, nope, everybody has to do it from now on. This is a thing. Get ready.
So that was my fault. I segued us back into current events again. But let's make sure we at least get to question number 2. So Y'all Weird is asking about the triggering of the bear market. This bear market seems to be triggered mostly by cascading liquidations and DeFi protocols across multiple chains intertwined with each other through over-leveraged assets. Do you think more dominoes will fall in the near term? If so, what protocols worry you the most? MakerDAO and Aave's recent posturing makes me a bit uneasy about Q3.
I want to hit on this because, like I had said earlier, this bear market is different than other bear markets. Well, the biggest reason is because this time we have DeFi, which really never existed. We have this, what we all talked about, being your own bank, and it was all so basic before. And now, with lending, with farming, with staking, there's so many areas where the DeFi market has really outshined the legacy financial market. Like, you can't go to your bank and you can go to your bank and stake. You can go to your bank and get a CD. You can go to your bank and get a savings account. But you can't go to your bank and farm. You could buy stocks. I'm sure there's a stockbroker there, so on. But there's a lot of things that you can do in DeFi that you can't do.
Right, and enjoy your 0.01 APY at the bank.
You could pick who you're going to loan to. You don't do that at the bank. You just give them your money, and you trust them. There's so much that you could do in DeFi that you can't do. So, but we have DeFi now, which that's how I retired. That's how I pay the bills. Through DeFi, and I've been hit so hard because and I always made this point when I talked good about farming and DeFi, that if there's a problem, or if your coin gets hit, if you're a hodler and you find out that Vitalik's been running Ethereum off of the blood of babies or something, it's gonna hit hard, and then you're gonna lose everything. It goes down 50%. You lost 50%. But if you're farming, then you've got only 50% of it is in Ethereum, 50% of it is in USD. So only half of your money gets hit, and then your rewards are paid like in cake, say from PancakeSwap. So you've got 3 different incomes there, 3 different baskets or assets in your basket. So if Ethereum goes down 50%, your holding didn't go down 50%, and went only a third of it went down 50%.
Yeah, I've seen
in the bear market, when I get hit now, my overall value of my farms has went down 60%, and the percentage that I'm getting has went down. They've lowered to it's weird that I'm complaining. I'm only get like 110%.
I think what people need to remember too is fiat is
so it has hit hard.
I feel like people need to remember that fiat is inflating rapidly, and it's not priced in. Like, they literally can't conceive of the growth in money supply destroying the value of the purchasing power of the dollar as a thing that should impact the way you read, dollar or USD, Bitcoin, USD, ETH pair, right? Like, it's not the same in their minds as like the thing losing value itself. Like, but you don't want to be in fiat right now. Like, that thing is the whole machine is going into hyperinflation.
Yeah. The way that we treat the dollar, the way that we still treat the dollar like it's this unwavering baseline measurement, that's like measuring the Earth going around the sun without realizing that the sun's going around the galaxy, and the galaxy's flying through space. And like, sometimes the speed of inflation, we've seen it happen in other countries in my lifetime, which hasn't been that long. But so the things that are different, Sean, you're talking about tools. I remember, I was excited that somebody was making a wallet that was easy to use. Now, almost all the wallets are easy to use.
Yeah.
Now instead of being like, oh man, there's these
most
projects
of the wallets aren't even wallets. They're not just wallets. There's so many things you can do in your wallet.
Yeah, and so there was like, oh, it's not like, I remember getting into stuff, just listening to podcasts about what they were building, what these projects were building, and thinking, oh man, I want to get in on that because they're building something really useful, I think, and it might not be there for a year or two or more. Today, it's different because the tools are there. We actually have an infrastructure of tools that exist and they work and they operate. That wasn't there last time we had a severe bear market.
Because it was like, oh my God, it's a wallet. And all you got to do is have this wallet, and when there's coin that forks, you're going to automatically get the coin. And when stuff comes out, you'll automatically get airdrops and stuff. You don't have to go follow all these things. And you don't have to put in all this effort and work. Oh, it's going to be great. And now that's just common. It's common stuff.
Right.
Layers
upon layers of automation, right? But ultimately, the cool thing is
your wallet. You could earn. It's
ultimately the cool thing is the projects that survive though are going to be the ones you can trust. Like I would say, DAI is probably if I was going to pick a stable coin to be in, it's the one that I pick. Like even over USDC and USDT, it's been here almost longer than they have, and the people working on it, they built a thing that survived several downturns. To me, that is the guidance for trust. Like, look for people who lived through the last one. Look for people who lived through the last two. If you really want to be,
and that are actually building something or producing something. That's the other thing. There's so. Reggie brought up a great point. We were having a conversation one time, and he was like, if you look at a project and you put ETH or whatever into it, and you were supposed to, that meant you were investing in that project, and that team was supposed to grow or build that. And so you should have growth in, that project. Well, if your number went up, but there's no growth in that project or no, production, or you don't see anything happening in that project, that number just may have gone up because they got a bunch of people to buy into it. And that may not be something that's going to be sustainable. Right. So if you're not seeing, action happening in that, that's really something to look out for. To the guy's point about, or the question, the thing that scares me the most are the stable coins. And I think it's because of what Greg said and what Sean said, the dollar's dying. And if you look at these, people are being quiet too about their projects. When we were at Bitcoin Miami, almost everybody who spoke that had a coin, first thing they said is, we are not a commodity, or we are not a security, or they were like, everybody's doing the speak and wanting not to be the next one that SEC goes duck duck goose on, and because it's just they could attack anyone next. And I think that's where everyone's sitting duck duck goose right now, and that's why a lot of them are being quiet. But even the politicians don't want to be in the US dollar, so they all know it's coming, they all know where it's going, but
to give props
well, the other thing worth noting too,
about Divi really changed the game, and whenever I did interviews with them and talked to them, I always kept bringing that up because I was really into masternodes, and
that's what brought me into.
They kind of morphed into this, and you can attest to this, Dave. Like either they're a scam, or they're too expensive for the average Joe to buy. You're not going to go buy a Dash node and then make 6%. Why?
Well, that's what I learned with Dash was because I started with Darkcoin, and I missed my opportunity to get to qualify for a dark node master node before they rebranded it to Dash and the price went up. And it in 2017 or whenever it was, I think it would have costed you literally $1 million US to be able to get enough for one of their master nodes. But if you were able to do that, you had a passive 80K per year income, which was cool, Yeah. And so when I saw what Divi was doing, I was like, oh, like this is literally a fork of Dash of, whatever. And they've done it to where there's tiers now. And now you can get in
from running as many master nodes as you do. It's really not fair to talk to you about it because you're you. But they're very technical to just update You have to go into certain folders that normal people don't know exist.
Yeah.
Which isn't hard for like you to do or Greg to do, but for normal
Actually,
people,
I have no idea how the hell to do it. Let's be clear.
There's no way they're gonna go in and update those.
But they knew their market too, and if you listen to like The Voice in their community,
I remember when it's like, hey, you got to update this, and it's like, all right, click here. I'm like, all right, like it's done. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I told them, I was like, I'm thankful. I was like, you don't understand. And they're like, well, that's just what we do. You got to make things simple. I'm like, no. You don't get it, man. I was like, you've done something like it's like magic.
Right. And I liked that they knew their demographic. They knew who their crowd was, who their base was. And so you had customer support heroes like The Voice, who was always there to walk anybody through a problem all the time.
They brought one click, and that
boom, there you go. Yep.
And I think it also killed the masternode market, because there was literally nothing left except scams. And you can go to Masternode Online or any of those, and you pull them up. It's like
they blew up.
The project says, "Hey, we're a masternode. We give you rewards." What do? We're a masternode. We give you rewards.
You talk about cycles. Like that was a cycle. Masternodes, and then DeFi was a thing that happened, and then
and it was. It was
metaverse is a thing that happened.
Ponzi scheme. You got in. You would be in a master. I would be in a masternode. You wouldn't. Don't do that. But you try to get in for like 2 or 3 months at best. You make a ton of money or rewards. You sell them. It's not.
And it was the same thing that happened with, all the hot dogs and food-based tokens and stuff in DeFi, where people knew that was going to happen and they were playing along, but they needed to prey on people that did not know that's what was happening. And that's where the problem comes in there. So you have less victims in a bear market, probably.
Every week or every month, and I was showing like all the masternodes I was in and moving stuff around. And I was like, I'm out of this. I had that for a month. And then the next, and you would see it, the price would just drop. Everybody, the team and everyone else got in, they made their money, and then they're out. But it's not like they were lying. They put out, we are a masternode, we give you rewards, and that's what we do. What's the utility?
They would answer They would answer questions like that. What can you do with it? You can look at it.
Yeah, you can make money with it. You can
look at it. It's in the wallet.
To me, guys, I think just to go back to the question, for one other take, I think the real risk in this market is probably in the decentralization adjacent services, basically like all the things that are regular companies that service the crypto sector, like Coinbase, on ramps and off ramps that are centralized, services like Rivets that aren't running their thing in a way that accounts for the fact that things are about to get a lot harder to raise money in the traditional world. Stuff you would normally have to back VC. That stuff is going to go haywire for a lot longer than DeFi, because it's a regulated market and it's going to just move slower through this. So
the VC thing is going to take a while.
Expect the failures to be in the VC firms and the hedge funds and the infrastructure companies and all those things. That's where it's really going to hit. Everybody else in DeFi can probably batten down the hatches and hold their tokens. And we'll be through it before the regular market actually gets done with its recession by a fair amount. But
were there any questions on
that's
trading?
My guess.
Maybe. On training, we'll have to find out. I wanted to throw in one more thing on this one before we move into the next question as well. Apparently, anything that has any exposure to 3AC, you should keep an eye on. I was just reading about 3AC's holdings and all of the kind of spaghetti of like this VC and that hedge fund and these groups all sort of like having this circle jerk of people lending to each other and stuff. So I found this graphic that
don't look that up.
He's too big to fail. Don't worry about him.
That I will. I'll put it up here without further commentary. But it is a list of the major holdings of 3AC. So take that as you will. But there's a lot of things happening in this ecosystem that may potentially create volatility. And that's just what I'm reading. So I don't want to call out any
has actually been a
names
really
in
great
particular.
ally to
But
crypto. Just have to say that, like, it would suck to lose them because they've invested in some really important projects and made sure that they happen when they wouldn't have otherwise.
well, they had a lot in Luna, and that was what started the cascading. But 3AC had a lot in Luna, from what I understand.
Yeah, but I wouldn't so much read these
Terra,
projects
I'm sorry.
as
Yeah,
a list
Terra.
of things to worry about might be unstable. I'd read these projects as a list of things that they also bet on. So like, measure your moral judgments of them accordingly, right?
Yeah. So if these things crash, like if there's any of these projects that you've been watching for a while and you know that they're not a scam and you know they're building something and they're going to stick around, it could be a place to look for, like, okay, well, maybe I'll pay attention to something I can afford. If you're, like Sean was talking about, I wish, this thing had a better price point. So stuff like that.
Like Near is a sleeper. Near's going to be huge.
Not financial
eventually,
advice.
Right? Near's an awesome company. The other one that I want to think probably is worth calling out is Aave. Like, those guys are really smart. They actually built some things that should persist. I don't see a lot of those projects not surviving this, I guess.
All right, so let's go to the next one from the Crocodile. The Crocodile asks, take the top 100 projects, how many will be around?
When?
It's pretty straight. Yeah, when. I assume this means after the quote-unquote bear market is over, right? So the topic is, blockchain in a bear market. How many of the top 100 are going to be around after this whole cascading bear market resolves itself and starts turning into a bull market again?
Two things. First, I would say 30.
Okay.
35. And I would say, compared to like the last time, I would have said it would probably be about 15 to 18. I think it's twice as much as last time because there was twice as much hype and scams and so on with the ICO craze. I think a lot of that went away this time. There's a lot more credibility, like we talked about, just in the market itself.
That's something I do look forward to.
I believe most of them will still be here.
A lot more real, this go around. So I think that there'll be more, less shook out. There'll be more. There's more good quality projects out there, and in the top 100. Because there was some crap in the top.
That's what I want to see. Yeah, exactly.
The last bull run was literally 99% hype. It was literally, this coin went up 15%. Why? They changed the color on their website. That was a legitimate thing. Sometimes
has dog.
You got listed on an exchange and you're looking at a 50% hike. That's way too volatile. It's way too small, and that didn't happen this go around. There's coins that went on Coinbase constantly, and they would have like a 2 or 3% jump. You were looking at a 2x, 3x if you got on if just a mention of getting put on Coinbase.
Oh yeah,
would give you like a huge bump.
Yeah, Coinbase was the new Binance or something, right? And
or Binance. They're going to go on Binance. Oh, that's 1x. They're on Binance. That's 3x. Now it's like, okay, you're going to get a 20% bump. That's much more real, and I think that's what we saw this time in this market. It's gotten a lot more sophisticated, a lot more better. So I think we're going to have a lot less shook out.
I think the outliers are going to be there, but for the most part, you're looking at the projects 101 to 1000 being the ones that die.
I agree.
I think that I never like to see people losing money and being hurt, but I do like scams going away and failing. I do like to see the actual useless, like the fat being cut. Just like I wish we would cut a lot of fat out of our government and how that operates. I want to cut a lot of fat out of our crypto industry as well.
That's the great thing about recessions. Actually, they kill bad stuff.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Lisa. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I agree with everything Sean said for the exact same reasons that Sean was saying. But I think because there's so many cryptos out there, the top 100 are not even the ones that would be taken out in this bear market. I think that's a pretty safe bet of what'll still be there.
If we get 2/3 of the fat cut, Sean, like you predict, that probably would be really good. If 2/3 of the top 100 went away, that'd probably be great, in my opinion.
Yeah,
for stuff that
years
matters
from
to
now,
me.
When we're looking at like a top 100 that's literally like 90% quality that won't go anywhere. I'm sure that's how the stock market was back when it started. Every kind of bear market, everything everybody would declare bankruptcy, would all go away, And we've gotten to the point now where that's what blue chip comes from. There's certain blue chip, and that term is being used in a lot of.
It's being used irresponsibly.
DeFi. It's being used in a lot of DeFi platforms where you're looking at blue chip projects. So I think it's going to get better and better and better because literally, dude, think about it. It's been around for 10 years. The whole market is 10 years old. Can you imagine like the stock market being 10 years old and we're getting into it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still making this. It's still being created. So there's a lot more growth, a lot more growing up.
Yep.
I mean,
indeed.
And that's really the key thing to keep in mind, guys. Like, believe in the projects you believe in because of what they do fundamentally. The numbers are going to take care of themselves for things that have a legitimate reason to exist. The stuff that's going to die is the stuff that frankly people shouldn't be wasting their investment capital on, and that's going to go to the new ones that are going to come up and be part of the top 100 next time, or the top 200. And it's going to go to the ones that deserve it because they prove that they have value, even when speculation is no way to make money.
Yeah, the speculation itself, the speculation itself being the value has to go away. The fact that something has social media traction being the commodity, okay, that evaporates immediately.
The other thing is, like, I want to urge people to not get down on this market and think that it needs regulation because of this. We are going to watch a much more slow motion version of this play out in the traditional markets because they're regulated and that tends to drag out recessions. These things dying quickly and us all moving on, it'll happen like that because there's not a whole lot of regulation right now, and that's a good thing. So yeah, maybe it'll be tempting to rattle sabers for it, because it sucks to lose money. But at the same time, like, it's better to lose money quickly and get on with making it than it is to sit around and try to punish the people who you lost money with.
Jay, you're talking about social media and that evaporating. I remember this is a real thing that happened. Last bull market, we had a huge pump in the entire crypto market because Katy Perry had crypto logos on her nails. She had like
nice
Bitcoin and Ethereum on her fingers.
Yeah, and then if you don't call the top after that,
moved the market. That moved the market substantially. It was like news. Like,
they're the biggest grifters.
25%.
Celebrities who get in on it. And
I don't trade much and I don't gamble in the markets much. But whenever I see things like that happen and I see the response to it, I'm like, oh, well, if I had any of that, I would sell immediately.
Celebrity sponsor is a red flag.
But that is gone. Like now,
that's actually one of our topics. I remember next month. That'll be great. Yeah.
I was thinking about that, kind of why it popped in my head, but that's gone now.
I don't agree with that because that's part of the mass adoption. That's part of education. And I know you guys are like super brilliant and coders and all that. And I just found out that there's a big hater thing with coding and YouTubers, which you guys are both of those things. So you can't really have that. But when we were at Bitcoin Miami, was it Consensus, Sean? They had asked a bunch of YouTubers they gave them a bunch of free tickets to give out on their YouTube show to get people to come to Consensus. And then the YouTube guys showed up and they canceled the panel because they have this like, oh, well, you're not real crypto people. You just have a YouTube channel to talk about it. And I was just like, okay, so you do see the value of it, or you wouldn't have used them.
I think there's
to give away the tickets.
There's value and there's importance
because there's education. You can't say
but
that.
Lisa, it can't move the market. We're talking about strictly the market. If Katy Perry's nails can move,
it did move the market.
Yeah, that's an immature market.
I'm on board with what
I think we've gotten bigger.
Yeah, I don't think that's entirely
mass
fair.
adoption. It brings people in.
Yeah,
that's part of moving the market.
I think we're actually, it might not sound like it, but I think we're actually on the same page, because in the case of like what Sean and I were talking about, we're not talking about the underlying tech being adopted, but what you're talking about it's fantastic that somebody, let's say somebody follows a celebrity and they have it on the nails, and it makes people curious that would have never been curious before.
Right.
It's like, oh,
They
my,
probably
this
never
person
had
that
an
I
account
idolize
before.
is
All of a
into knows
sudden.
about this stuff. I wonder, if she knows about it, maybe I should know about it.
Mhm.
And it does get people like to kind of like scratch the surface and, dip their toe in the water to see what even this is about. Open the internet and look at something other than the 3 websites everybody goes to. That kind of thing is super valuable. But I'm in a purely like gambling sense where I happen to have some tokens and then a celebrity like pumps the price on the markets. I don't care how good for adoption that is. I'm selling it.
Right.
I'm kind of like,
Well,
I want to be on both
And
sides
if you
here.
don't research and love the project, then you should sell when the price spikes. That's what you should do with it. If you got free tokens, you don't even have any idea what they do, and you don't have time to learn, then sell the damn things.
When the market spikes like that, that's not adoption. That's people that were already in. If you have to go back to that mindset of 2018, 2017, everyone was like, this is it. No, this is it. No, this is it. Oh, there's, Litecoin has a sign at the baseball game. This is it. Because everybody's trying to get ahead of the adoption. Everyone is trying to get their money
to be there first,
right before all the Katy Perry's followers come in. Oh, Katy Perry has 10 million people following her, so 10 million people are going to go buy Bitcoin. Boom! I'm putting all the rest of my money into it. That's what creates the spike, not people coming in. It's not adoption. That's what I'm talking about. The movement. The market was so small that the roots that were already in crypto, everybody was like, "Oh, this is it. Here comes the adoption."
Last wave adoption, though. Yeah, you're right, Sean. Last wave adoption is totally demonstrated in what people keep and who sticks around when it's down, not who's here when it's up, right? If you look at what it was like during the last bear market in terms of how many projects were there still functioning and how many people were still part of it, right? Like you look at it now versus then, like you can see the adoption. The rest of it was hype.
So only measure the adoption in the bear market.
Well, it's hard to measure adoption too without, like, I don't even know how to do that.
If I was going to do it, I would look at projects. The number of projects that are still actively under development in this bear market, or at the end of this bear market versus the end of the last one.
I think you have to look at new wallets with crypto in them, and also the overall market cap of the whole market.
Yeah, I guess I could dive into on-chain analysis a little bit more. I never really got into that enough. It seems like there'd be a lot there. It is all transparent. You get to see. Now you don't know what's bots and what's not, but assuming that, not to argue for high gas fees, but assuming that there's a gas fee up there that would prevent, too much fakery, or at least it would make it expensive. You could probably see a lot happening with, organic growth and things like that on chain, if I would to guess.
Well, there are actually projects out there that do that too. Like you can actually go check out like state of the
there's subscription services, and I've got one newsletter from a guy or a girl or whoever it is, On Chain Wizard, who has some really good insights. I recommend that one if anybody. There's a free weekly one, and then like you can pay for a daily one. It's pretty good. Yep. So let's see. What do we have? We have time for another question. Let's go to cryptocurrency. Asks. Some experts predict Bitcoin to hit all-time highs in 2 to 3 years. If true, would that bear market that whole time frame? Would we be in a bear market that whole time frame? So basically, like, let's assume that in 3 years or 2 years that Bitcoin hits 70K, right? That's going to happen. Is it going to happen all at once at the end of that time period? Or are we in for the long haul here and it's not going to come up? It's going to be all, or is it going to start coming up now? I guess gradually, are we in a V-shaped recovery, or is this going to be a gradual digging ourselves out of a hole?
I think it's time to change our metaphors, honestly. Bear market, bull market, these are all asset pairs valued in fiat. Like ultimately, especially with what they've done at the Fed, this is going to have to change.
Well, we can't think
Bitcoin
about pairs
things but we can't really think about things in terms of dollar recovery relative, or the price per asset being recovered above what it was as a good measure if we're going to use dollars to think about it.
You've got to measure it against something.
To be fair, I don't think that the person asking the question used any base of measurement. So let's assume that it's a Bitcoin base. Everything's going
I
down.
don't think it'll be a bear
Well,
market.
I think
for 3
you
years.
can assume that people are thinking about asset prices in dollars right now.
We've got a halving coming in that time.
You're right.
I think
It is about Bitcoin, and that's what Bitcoin's measured against. Okay, I take that back.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be in a
the
bear
dollar's
market
going
that
to stop
long.
making sense.
I think it's going to
pretty
follow. I think it's going to follow the usual, the usual trend. I think we're going to have the halving. I think things are going to happen the way they usually happen. It'll just be turned up like it has every other time. It's the same or similar cycle, just higher up on the chart than it was before. That's just what happens.
I think there's a new episode of that dragon show they were talking about referencing coming out soon. So maybe that's a positive sign. I don't know.
What's that? What was the show?
Whatever that show was, they were saying in the question, that dragon show.
I missed it.
Isn't it a dragon show? The winter.
Oh, the winter is coming.
Right.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, right?
Game of Thrones. Yeah, there's a new Game of Thrones coming out soon.
I did see that.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
used to
sign.
watch that show with my roommates. I've read half the first book, and I've seen the first 2 seasons and the second to last season.
Maybe
So that's my
that's a
whole
good
experience with it.
Yeah, I just know
But
there's
from what I
dragons.
saw, it was amazing and it was awesome.
It's one of the best shows. The last season is just stop.
I didn't see
watch the last season.
I didn't see the last season, so I'll just watch all the meat and in between.
Oh yeah.
The animation was great. I know that. It was
I thought they did Daenerys wrong, man. I wanted her to win.
so off topic. Okay. We are
Dragonchain, man.
up against
Who,
time, so
us?
let's
Yeah.
is there anything else that we can say about this? I don't want to cut the question short just because we're running up on time, but the question about 2 or 3 years, like what is the next 2 or 3 years?
I don't think it'll be.
I think it's going to
bear market.
start feeling like a bull market again way sooner than people think.
Okay.
Way sooner than people think. Like by the end of the summer.
That seems positive.
2 months.
And then another crash in October, and then Christmas up.
Market cycles in crypto are fast because it's
Oh.
unregulated.
It's an argument for keeping them unregulated then, so we can cycle through all the changes that need to happen and get some solidity.
Which that lady,
That's
who
fun.
was it that just said we're not going to do bailouts for crypto? You know,
Thank you. Please don't get cronies in there.
which
right?
then great, free markets. So that's
Yep.
a good thing. For
That
us.
was I didn't it wasn't put in on DIN, so I didn't want to bring it up and spend
Oh.
time on it, but that was a question actually in chat from LinkedIn.
I want to bring that up real quick because I was screaming this the last with the last crash. Trump and the government came in and they did this huge bailout for the airlines and for the stock market, and they pumped all this money in, and it's a zombie market. And the crypto market did the same. It followed everything. It rebounded just as well, and nobody helped it. It
Yep.
did it on its own. It's real. So to say that that's necessary, it's not. If it's a free market and it works the way it should, you have to. I mean, it's right there in black and white. There was no one helped this. No one did anything for crypto, and it did just as well or better than the
That's
Right,
what I
it's
saw
stuff-
with the
Stuff
collapse
that
of
should die will, but everything else still retains its exact value that it actually has. It just was overvalued. That's all.
I remember having that thought, Sean, that initial the collapse, the beginning of that cascading cluster F. The market without bailouts absorbed and dealt with like $1 trillion. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's terrible for everyone who just had so many house of cards collapse. But to watch that happen and not to have any intervention from like some just to not have those bailouts have to happen and for it to recover on its own, pretty amazing to me.
Yeah,
but-
it makes me
yeah, but-
super
and-
bullish, you could say. I don't know.
I'm with you all the way, man. Like the thing to remember is like we still live in a world of scarce resources, and we have to know where to put them, right? And if we don't have bear markets, then we'll put them all in the wrong places. It hurts if you're overinvested, and people are learning some harsh lessons about markets versus money machines right now. But we shouldn't hate the mechanism because it it is it's an emergent one. It's dynamic. It's the way that people behave, whether you regulate it or not. Regulations just make it go slower.
It's still going to happen. Just slows down progress.
Yeah, it's my opinion anyway.
I mean, it's an informed opinion. I don't know if it's mine or not. I don't have an opinion yet, but it sounds informed. So, all right, that I think that makes our show this week. Thanks, everyone. And again, thanks to all the hosts, like every time. Thanks for coming on routinely. And Lisa, I've enjoyed you being on so frequently lately, and I hope you continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm looking forward to next month's topics. Go look at those and throw some questions in them whenever you see the posts come up. Let's talk about you though for a minute, hosts. Where can people follow you? Where can people keep up with you and pick your brain if they need to and watch your content that you create? And also what's going on with you.
Yep. By the way, Sean's meme review, awesome. You guys need to watch that.
Thanks, bud.
So Sean, take it first. Wait.
Okay. Me and Lisa are doing an interview with Economic Ninja today. Later, I think we're gonna probably record it and put it up later today or Friday. But I don't know, so I haven't talked to her about that part yet. I got the meme review, comes out Friday or Saturday. You can just, if you're posting memes, you can send it directly to me on Twitter or Instagram.
Nice.
Or just put hashtag SS crypto meme, and I'll be checking that. I got another interview coming up this week. Follow me on the usual stuff. Also,
Thanks.
we have a show, Truth Tuesdays, every Tuesday on both our channels. You can follow. Actually, it's good if you bounce back and forth to both channels and hit the like on both.
Yeah, we would appreciate it. So yeah, Sean and I are collaborating on Tuesdays for our Truth Tuesday, where I guess I'm bad cop now and he's good cop. But we have fun with that. And then I've got a daily weekday show every day, 4:00 Central on YouTube. And then I'm on Twitter a bunch. I've been posting on Den. I'm learning. I try to make sure to jump in. I missed Dave's Coffee with Dave this week. My little boy had an earache, so I missed that. But I like being over there on Den Social for that coffee with you, because I get to get some more tips on being on Dragonchain and working Den.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out too. Always down to help anybody who needs a hand figuring out how that works.
Yeah, it was great. And
I've seen you over there quite a bit. Yeah,
great help with. I got to vote on a layer and be a part of that and part of the community. So that's been exciting. We just had a meetup in Peoria, Illinois. Had a great turnout, even though there was some weird stuff with travel for people. But our next meetup will actually be a charity event for my nonprofit. Team Mighty Foundation that honors my daughter that passed away. So we're doing some work. Big Swear from Road to Ruta will be there. We've got some other YouTube celebrities that will be joining us. Hopefully any of you guys that can come will consider joining us. But it's going to be down at the River Sports Event Center in Oklahoma City on August 6th. Cool. So we'll be talking more about that. We did a short video on that, and I'll have tickets go on sale this Friday for it. So
that's awesome.
Talking about that. Yeah. Greg,
awesome.
Maybe
Thank
you can come and play some music or something.
I'd love to, actually. They had this really awesome sort of jazz ensemble out front of East Denver that I really wanted to hang out and add some vocals to, but I was losing my voice at the time, so I couldn't. So
well, now that I've got you on tape, committed, I'm going to hold you to it.
Officially interested, aren't you, Greg? What's up with you anyway? What's going on with Rivet?
Three things. One of them quick. Rivet is going to be cutting its prices literally in half for everybody in order to help people sustain infrastructure through the bear market, as well as prepare to win, because I'm a firm believer in the notion that this cycle is going to be the one where we start to realize some of the promises of permissionless decentralized currencies as a way to fight back against the kinds of things that have been done to suppress individual autonomy and liberty. And I think those things are coming. And so we're going to be reaching out to projects that we think are fundamental first and even going beyond half of our price off. So that's something we're doing as Rivet. As myself, I'm thinking about probably going to be starting a little stream show called Greg Uninterrupted. And I'm just gonna go through articles and stream. I'm just gonna look at stuff and talk about it.
I'll chime in every now and then and be like, "Hold on, I'm gonna let you finish." But let me say, that sounds cool. I like that. I would watch that, Greg. I would watch that.
Well, project that
dies
quickly, or vanity project that lasts and people enjoy. So that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that update. As far as Den Social goes, we have a governance meeting every Thursday after this show. It's in, let's see, I guess it'd be in about 2 hours. So at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to go over and talk about a lot of things that have been going on. We have had a pretty rapid pace of development recently. The last 2 features, including the one that is selected to work on next, seems like they're going to go a little bit quicker than the one that was before that, which was adding direct messages and chat rooms and things like that. So on Den, we speaking of coffee, yesterday's episode was pretty interesting. Check that out. We talk about the new layers that are being created. Every month we have new ones, one of which Litecoin Lisa, or what do you prefer, Lisa? Is it Mighty Lisa Davis, or
so I'm Lisa Mighty Davis on Den. Litecoin Lisa is kind of how I got started, but my Twitter handle is Lisa Mighty Davis also. So I don't know.
Well, that was just a passing good to know thought.
Like. Yes.
But you've got some of one of the winning layers. One of the ones you voted on won this round. Awesome. So I'm going to get involved over there. So you and I will be interacting in that layer for sure. I'll show off my guns, whatever.
Me too.
And got your tickets to the gun show. It's right here.
That's right.
And then I recommend everybody chime in on the Den DAO call, or at least listen in to see what we're doing, because I think you're going to find a lot of what's happening. People are finding Den, which I think is interesting. Whenever you're with the project long enough, whether it be your own project that you're working on, or whether it be somebody else's project that you've been following a long time, you do kind of get a sense of like, oh, you know what? It used to be a lot of effort to get somebody to even look at this, and now people are finding it on their own. So I'm looking forward to that continuing, and I invite you to come grow with us at Den. So
this is Den's bear market, man. This is
yeah. I'm always I like that the Batman meme, like I was born in the dark, whatever it was. You just you adapted to the bear market. I was born in the bear market.
Was that the Tom Hardy's?
I forget. Yeah, but Den is very much about making something that works well, that doesn't require predatory advertising to pay the bills and things like that, which is what I love. And it's also a turnkey DAO solution for anybody who wants a user-friendly one. And they have people that maybe want to join their DAO but don't know how to use crypto. This is something that is made for you to be able to bring in more people to your project by opening a layer in Den, either through a community vote for free or by coming in and buying a business one. So I invite anyone who's dealing with that type of stuff to check it out and see if it would be a good fit for your community. And especially, like, if not, let us know why, because I think that it will be in time. That's all I've got for now. I want to say that also next week, make sure that you join the WBRT layer in Den and ask questions for that. The theme is going to be NFTs on Instagram. I feel like we got a couple of related topics. There's NFTs on Instagram, and then the next month we have a celebrities and celebrity shilling episode. So I feel like we're going to have a lot of conversation about that over the next couple of months. So NFTs on Instagram, think about questions for that. Share this episode. The more you share, as we said at the top of the show, the more lot our hosts and contributors receive. So anybody who asked a question, they got hit today. Sure. Go for it.
Spontaneously, I'm going to give a Grandpa Ape to anybody who joins and comments on this topic.
You got a lot of Grandpa Apes, sounds like.
I do. I have some extra ones, and they're kind of
awesome. All right, so we got a Grandpa Ape giveaway. Maybe go and, you know what you should do? You should, since we're on Den for this show, you should put that, we have an airdrops layer. or a contest layer. And
Cool.
I know the contest layer is really well managed too. So you'll get some traction in there. I think that's what I would recommend.
Random questioner gets it. I'm just going to pick randomly.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. So do that. Go get yourself a Grandpa Ape. Sean's already competing. I can see him. I can see him doing it right now. So he gets first. And like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.